The DreamSMP created one of the most notorious fandoms in internet history, on par with the Undertale community in 2015 and any fandom of an anime with cute girls. But despite that, there's no denying that the DreamSMP was more successful than the Cash App glitch for content creators, raking in millions of subscribers for the members involved. For those that are unfamiliar, the DreamSMP was a role-playing Minecraft creator SMP, with the main conflict involving Dream, Tommy, and some discs that Tommy found in a random dungeon. However, these were more than just music discs to Tommy. They were a symbol of security, comfort, hope, and a whole bunch of other stuff, and Dream wanted to take that away. There were also a shit ton more creators involved in the story, with Wilbur creating a nation called the Manberg and then going insane, and Jschlatt taking over Wilbur's nation before Wilbur blew it up, and Tubbo being Tommy's best friend that also rebuilt Wilbur's nation into a communist state, and Techno who just fucked everyone's shit up, and a whole bunch more that I'll take forever to explain. But at the core, nearly every event in the DreamSMP tied back to Dream trying to take Tommy's discs. In one final showdown, Tommy and Tubbo faced Dream in one final attempt to take back the discs, and in the end, they got their asses handed to them by Dream. It wasn't even close. It was a harder beatdown than Giorno's 7-page stand rush. But when all hope seemed lost, the entire server came to Tommy's aid and defeated Dream once and for all. Tommy and Tubbo reclaimed the discs and listened to them just like they did at the beginning of the server, marking the end of Tommy's story on the DreamSMP. And yes, I'm completely aware that if you're not familiar with the DreamSMP, this story sounds lame and cringy as hell, and my synopsis definitely doesn't do it justice. But back then, if you were even slightly interested in Minecraft YouTube, seeing all of these different content creators making jokes and forming alliances and betraying each other and having a fun time just felt magical, or at the very least damn entertaining. Even after Tommy's finale stream, the members still had plenty of ideas for the next arc of the DreamSMP, and the community was still excited to see what came next. And honestly, so was I. But as the months went by and Dream sat in his prison, I just stopped being interested. At some point in time, I was only watching the DreamSMP for Techno kicking ass, not for any of the lore progression or character development. The climax of the Disc Saga was one of the last things I looked forward to in the DreamSMP, and I guess I stopped caring once that climax was reached. But even if I felt that way, there was still a massive audience that looked forward to the story that the members had planned. Even though my interest faded, when I looked back at Techno spawning in those withers, and Wilbur pressing the button, and Sadist's beautiful animatics, I knew that nothing would match the legacy of the DreamSMP for a long, long time. That's what I thought 2 years ago. As corny as it is, there was a lot of stuff that I learned in those 2 years. I got a total of 0 bitches and reignited my passion for creating videos. When I started coming up with video ideas for my channel, one of the first things I thought of was making some sort of tribute for the DreamSMP, which was already done by Tommy, but I still had ideas to make it different. And so, 2 years after I left the DreamSMP community, I quit procrastinating, opened up a new tab, and looked up the DreamSMP for the first time in 2 years. And what I found was shocking. I couldn't even begin to process the amount of information in these wiki pages. The only way I could describe what I was seeing was an absolute mess. What happened here? The DreamSMP that I found was just a conglomeration of different stories that were stuck together, just like that glob of animatronics in FNAF Security Breach. Instead of ending on a bang like Tommy's finale stream, the DreamSMP just slowly, silently fizzled out. Was this really the DreamSMP? Even though some of the moments were still fun to watch, even though Tommy is still one of my favorite Minecraft YouTubers, it was hard to look at this mess knowing how great it was before. I tried scouring the internet to find anything about what happened to the DreamSMP, but nothing that I found really satisfied me. For days, I banged my head against the wall, trying to ask the question, what went wrong? How could something with so much passion and support behind it just blow up this badly? And well, after enough thinking, the answer to that question became so painfully clear. And yet no one, not the community, not even Tommy, has ever fully realized the sheer amount of flaws in the DreamSMP and the detriment they caused to its foundation. And most likely, neither do you. The thing that caused the downfall of the DreamSMP was the same thing that made it so successful in the first place: the narrative. But me just saying the narrative doesn't really get us anywhere. So in order to understand the fall, we need to understand the rise. And yes, I know that I've shit on Sunny V2 for having backstory for 90% of the video, and it seems like I'm doing the same thing. But I promise that it's important this time.
Right, but because you said that's what the mask is, I think you're
Dream was a Minecraft YouTuber that was growing faster than Sasuke's Chidori, and he wanted to expand his brand even further. So, on some random day that I'll look up later, Dream and his friends decided to start the DreamSMP, hoping to garner viewers and attention. But there was a problem. As Tommy put it, people had done servers before, and the existence of them was getting tiring. The DreamSMP was no different. With nothing really unique happening on the server, it seemed like the DreamSMP was destined to fade away into obscurity, and that it would take a speedrunning level miracle to prevent that from happening. And then, Tommy In It happened. You see, with previous Minecraft creator SMPs, there was always some driving force to make the content. For SMP Live, it was the jokes and good vibes. For SMP Earth, it was geopolitics.
I will not have tyranny on my land, in my home. I will not stand for this.
I just saw it. I'm helping.
And for the DreamSMP, it was Tommy. Nearly every single event in the DreamSMP was motivated by Tommy being reminiscent of that one younger cousin that you just want to punch in the face from the amount of dumb shit he does. But no matter what you think of Tommy, he earned himself a spot next to the giants of Minecraft YouTube, and there's nothing that can take that away from him. But even then, there was a problem. The DreamSMP was still fighting an uphill battle to stay new and interesting, and Tommy, no matter how unique and entertaining his personality was still a naive 16-year-old kid that now held the weight of the DreamSMP on his shoulders. His flame was obnoxiously bright, but with no solid plans for the future, both Tommy and the DreamSMP would fizzle out without any proper guidance. And that is where Wilbur Soot comes in. If Tommy was the spark that blew up the DreamSMP, Wilbur was the man who put in hours meticulously tending to the fire and adding fuel to grow it larger. Making the server more narratively driven was all Wilbur's idea, and he was at the forefront of crafting the future of the DreamSMP. The decisions he made in the narrative were imperative for laying down the foundation of the DreamSMP, and yet throughout the years, I feel like the intricacies of those decisions have never really been fully appreciated by the community. So let's go over what Wilbur has done, shall we? To start off, the roles that Wilbur assigned to everyone were just simply perfect, with himself as a mentor, Tommy as the protagonist, Tubbo as the best friend supporting character, and Technoblade as the quirky overpowered guy. And for the antagonists, we had Dream and Jschlatt. But the main reason that everyone was perfect for those roles is because the characters they played were derived from their real personalities. Tommy and Tubbo were the young mischievous heroes of Twitch that were perfect for the coming of age story that Wilbur set up. Wilbur had already spent a lot of time dealing with Tommy's personality on SMP Earth, so he made for a great mentor. And most importantly, everyone knew that Dream and Technoblade were forces of Minecraft nature from each of their respective videos, so Dream made for a great threatening antagonist, and Techno made for just simply the guy that you don't want to fuck with. And Jschlatt, for what he lacked in basic Minecraft PvP mechanics, he more than made up for in personality and humor. Having everyone play these roles meant that nobody had to worry about acting in character when talking to each other. Everyone could be their genuine selves, since that was the role that Wilbur gave them. Which brings us to the next great aspect of Wilbur's writing, keeping the spirit of a Minecraft SMP. While the idea of having an overarching narrative in a Minecraft SMP was a really fresh and new idea at the time, viewers weren't watching the DreamSMP because it was worthy of an Oscar or an 85% on the Moist meter. They were watching it because it was a Minecraft SMP, where a bunch of streamers play on a Minecraft server while being as entertaining as possible. Tommy and the others were still able to do lighthearted SMP Live-esque things while still maintaining the importance of the narrative. Some of these moments have even risen to the same amount of popularity as the actual canon events, and have even been integrated into the lore in a goofy, creative way. And to finish off, the decisions made in the story, from the reasons that Wilbur blew up L'Manberg to the reasons that Technoblade turned on everyone, were all good writing on Wilbur's part, and they were perfect in building up to those big moments that made the DreamSMP so culturally impactful. But that is where all my praises end. Unfortunately, despite all of Wilbur's best efforts, there was still one fatal problem. But it's a little different this time. This problem was present even during a time where the DreamSMP was considered great, so it was virtually impossible to have been noticed by anybody. But unbeknownst to even Wilbur himself, he set a precedent that would corrupt the foundation of the DreamSMP. Yeah, I know that statement is weird, considering I just framed Wilbur as some sort of savior, but I'll get to that later. In order to understand what I just said, we need to go over the rest of the failures of the DreamSMP, and trust me, there are a lot. The first and arguably most notable mistake in the DreamSMP is the fact that everyone wrote their own stories instead of having a centralized narrative, with the most egregious cases of this happening after the final disc confrontation. While in theory nothing seemed to be wrong, there was a huge problem with this creative process. First off, while there are a lot of characters, the two main things that made the DreamSMP so popular in the first place was the conflict between Tommy and Dream and Technoblade kicking ass. So when the focal point is moved somewhere that is not those two things, the majority of the existing viewers will leave due to getting something they didn't want. Additionally, all of these different narratives are fairly complicated and have nothing to do with each other, despite all of them technically being a part of the DreamSMP. While adding more characters and expanding a world may seem to make a story better, that just simply isn't the case, because a fictional world can't be infinite. There's only so much stuff a writer can put in their story before it loses focus on what's important. Giving the viewers so much stuff to follow that they already didn't care about will just lead them to not care at all, which is the same reason why no one cares about She-Hulk, or Riri Williams, or Moon Knight, or any other bullshit the MCU is up to nowadays. Although to be fair, nothing that Bad Boy Halo writes will ever be as dogshit as She-Hulk. The second mistake of the DreamSMP is the revival book, and this one pisses me off. In any sort of fiction, death always has to be an important part in any plot progression, because death is something that makes people change drastically, both in real life and fiction. So whenever I see resurrection implemented into a story, or authors just refusing to kill their characters, it usually only weakens or entirely gets rid of the heavy implication that comes with dying. Only very thoughtful writers can cheat death in a story while still preserving the importance of life, and Dream is definitely not one of those writers. To start off, Dream admitted that the revival book was a bigger asshole than these three analogies that I couldn't decide on, and only exists to fill in the plot hole.
Okay, I guess I need to swap to the other side, but like, why would I do that? And that's how the revival book like came about. It was to cover that plot hole because I literally just switched for no reason.
The revival book was also just a very poorly executed resurrection method, because there was initially no real consequence or obstacle to use it. Later on, Dream retconned something that tried to rectify this issue, but it still felt like a shallow deus ex machina. Additionally, the revival book was the only reason to drag out the plot between Tommy and Dream after the disc saga ended. And speaking of, Tommy not killing Dream has to be one of the worst fumbles in fiction, on par with the Oltsutskis in Boruto and Promised Neverland Season 2. The prison arc basically ruined the payoff to Tommy's finale and made the rest of the DreamSMP just feel worse. And finally, the DreamSMP's biggest mistake of all, the genesis of every single flaw within the DreamSMP, is the precedent that Wilbur set for the future of the server. But what is it exactly? Well, we have to go past all of the moments that are considered the downfall and back to the election conflict, a time where the DreamSMP was considered at its peak. In the wiki, it states that Wilbur's character had gone through some sort of crippling depression from the amount of stress he went through as a president, which led to his descent into insanity and paranoia, and the ultimate decision to blow up L'Manberg. But I just praised this same plot progression a few minutes ago, so why am I talking shit about it now? Well, you don't need to be Socrates to know that mental illness isn't a very lighthearted topic to explore in fiction, and even more so in a Minecraft server. With this decision, Wilbur made the DreamSMP's narrative take itself more seriously with its darker themes and tone. But wasn't the roleplay supposed to be lighthearted and fun? Wasn't it all of these streamers starting over-the-top conflicts that made the server so successful? In Tommy's tribute, he mentioned how great it was for the DreamSMP to move on to fully scripted streams. But little did he know, this was the beginning of the end. First off, Wilbur's character is the one with severe mental health issues, but Wilbur, as far as any viewer can tell, is just a relatively healthy streamer, which marks this as the first instance that the character in the DreamSMP was separate from the streamer. However, what everybody failed to realize is that the primary reason most viewers watched the DreamSMP was because of the chemistry between the streamers, not the narrative itself. But how could the creators even realize it? As the DreamSMP grew, the stakes got higher and the shit got crazier, with the huge war between Manberg and Pogtopia, Wilbur blowing up L'Manberg, Technoblade 1v4ing L'Manberg, Tubbo exiling Tommy, Technoblade narrowly escaping death before 1v1ing Quackity in Iron Armor, Technoblade doing more crazy shit, and the viewers kept eating all of this up. To the creators, it seemed like making these huge moments bigger and bigger was the best way to grow the DreamSMP. And honestly, who could blame them for thinking that way? For fuck's sake, Tommy broke a viewer record with 650,000 concurrent viewers over Ninja and Drake playing Fortnite. And the stream in question that beat them was a child role-playing on a Minecraft server. But after the supposed finale where the hype started to die down, all of the cracks finally started to show. After the election era, and especially after the finale stream, the difference between the character and the streamer started to grow. Dream became a psychopath that relentlessly bullied Tommy even though the two are friends. Bad Boy Halo wanted to take over the world even though his family friendliness rivals that of the king Nick A30. Quackity became some sort of hardened mafia boss despite being known as one of the funniest and lighthearted streamers on the SMP. And there's probably more that I just simply didn't want to find out. When you were first watching a DreamSMP stream, you were watching your favorite streamer roleplay and make jokes on a Minecraft server. But later on, you were watching a completely foreign character being acted out by your favorite streamer. Along with the characters, the whole world of the DreamSMP started to change. There were ghosts, a half Enderman, Limbo, a red egg that brainwashed people, cloning technology, a revival book that can cause the end of the world, a slime that lived for 1,000,000 years. Not only were the original identities of streamers erased, so was the identity of Minecraft itself. But more importantly than any of that, the most detrimental thing that happened to the DreamSMP was the change in tone. The server's driving force was no longer to make jokes and start lighthearted conflicts like it was at the beginning. It was now about making some sort of commentary on society and human nature, which, I'll be blunt, wasn't even done that well. If I wanted to see the consequences of dysfunctional leadership, I would just visit Camden. This seriousness combined with the change in characters meant that there was significantly less room for the members to just have fun together. Tommy couldn't just talk to Dream or Quackity or Technoblade or Rambo or Bad Boy Halo without having to worry about whether it made sense in the story, despite these very same interactions making the server so popular in the first place. In the process of becoming a cultural phenomenon, the members forgot what the DreamSMP was supposed to be, and as a result, the foundation of the server came crashing down. With all that being said, could anything have been done to save the DreamSMP? Maybe the members could have centralized the narrative to have everything more connected to each other. Maybe everyone could have gone back to the roots with more lighthearted role-playing moments, like the uprising of Church Prime or when Tommy teamed up with Dream and Technoblade. But on the other hand, it would be unfair to say that the downfall of the DreamSMP was entirely the fault of the members. Everyone in the DreamSMP had little to no writing experience, so anything trying to be prolific and thought-provoking would inevitably end up shallow, and I know that from experience. Lockdowns were starting to end, and viewers of the DreamSMP that are previously confined to their homes now had to integrate back into society. Other members simply moved on or got burnt out from the amount of stress that came from moving the SMP forward. There was also Dream being guilty of a speedrunning cheating scandal which ended up being the start to one of the worst downward spirals in internet history. He stated in his video essay that he got really demotivated after the grooming allegations in his face reveal, which is pretty understandable. And for the record, to any of the Dream haters that are still desperately trying to pin Dream as a groomer, just know that your obsessiveness is no better than the stance that you so strongly hate. Having a large portion of your well-being being dependent on whether someone is a groomer or not is unhealthy for anybody. You're not a hero, you're not helping anybody, just get off the internet and find a hobby that you enjoy. And of course, no one could have prepared for the tragic death of Technoblade. In a suffocating environment of constant loud energy and flashy motion graphics, Techno is just a socially anxious guy with dry humor doing crazy shit in Minecraft, which makes me think that he would have loved Bocchi the Rock, which I know is cringe, alright, sue me. All of Techno's videos just felt so down to earth and full of personality, and Minecraft videos have never felt like that since. He was the last remnant of that great, crazy era of Minecraft YouTube, and I miss it, man. At the end of the day, no matter how much disappointment I feel, nothing can change the fact that the DreamSMP is over. Maybe in a perfect world where all of the problems were fixed and nothing got in the way of the members, perhaps then we could have seen the DreamSMP shine even brighter than before. What a world that could have been. When I started drafting the title for this video, these are the two titles that I thought of. At first, I didn't really know why I was struggling to choose between these two, but in hindsight, they perfectly encapsulated how I felt about the DreamSMP. Sure, the acting was corny, the narrative was sloppy, and there were definitely parts of the fandom that were cringe and toxic, but the energy that these DreamSMP streams emitted was truly one of a kind. And hey, within that pile of cringe are people that are more talented than you and I will ever be. 2 years ago, I thought the DreamSMP's legacy would be unmatched, and 2 years later, I'm happy to see that my statement still holds up. The DreamSMP basically pioneered narrative-driven SMP content, and yet, all of the videos that came after it can't even hold a candle to what the members were able to accomplish. If you haven't clicked off this video because of some preconceived notion about what this video is going to be, good for you. But I should also say that I don't enjoy talking shit about the DreamSMP. I understand that this server means a lot more to some people than it does to me, especially to Tommy. And I can't comprehend the emotional roller coaster that Tommy went through because of this server. And I probably never will. Honestly, I wanted this to succeed just as much as any other fan, which is why I'm making this video in the first place. In a way, this is my own tribute to the DreamSMP. As a fan of Tommy in it since 100k subs, as a fan of Technoblade since he dogged on everyone in Minecraft Monday, and as a fan of the DreamSMP who hates more than anything when someone comes up with an amazing idea and executes it terribly. If you're just like I was before doing research for this video, I think you should just let it go. The DreamSMP was a truly once-in-a-lifetime moment that can't be recreated, and I think it's better if it's kept that way. Instead of getting mad at what the DreamSMP could have been, I think we should appreciate it for what it was able to accomplish, and most importantly, where it all started. Once upon a time, a ragtag group of composers got together and unintentionally wrote one of the most influential pieces in history. And now, Every one of those composers have claimed their fame and moved on from their podium to pursue better things, with their names forever engraved in history and their symphony forever unfinished. God, that's gonna sound fucking cringe.